I'd like to really say thank you to all of you who came. You're coming from all over the world, but you're also representing so many different organizations here today. We have representatives from banks, both large and small. We have representatives from fintechs who are just starting out, and from fintechs who are now with thousands of people and worth billions. We have people here who are representing those which are acting as advisors to all these organizations. We have consultants, we have system integrators, and of course we have a wide array of ecosystem partners here. And what brings us all here together is the fact that we're actually living in the Fintech era. It's also, of course, the beautiful city of Amsterdam, but it's actually the Fintech era. And the way that we think about it right now is that all of the activity that we see happening is happening because of this era. We don't think so much of it as fintech companies or banks. We think of it as actually what is so common about all these organizations and why is all this activity now really starting to play out in the market. And there's a few reasons for this. The fintech era is really not actually characterized so much purely by fin or tech. It's actually characterized by the fact and the recognition that there's a huge opportunity to take a look at what customers need and what customers want in the realm of financial services, and how you can actually leverage technology and bring those services to market to them. So the fintech era is fundamentally about actually starting with the customers and then bringing technology in. The slides are going by themselves. Bringing technology in to support delivering of those services. And of course, that is completely game-changing. What it really changes is the fact that nowadays you can actually bring together fundamentally better experiences. And that's what it's actually all about. It's actually delivering better experiences to the customers. Now that experience can of course vary widely based on the market you're in and the products that you're servicing. But at the end of the day, it's actually about creating strong relationships and great experiences with those customers. And they all have the attributes of being a combination of being better, simpler, and cheaper at the same time. And this just means actually from the customer's perspective, for them to have fundamentally a better experience working with you as a financial institution and a better relationship with you as a business. However, none of this is really free. The fintech era is not necessarily for the faint of heart. Because in this era, it means that everything is changing, and it's doing so rapidly. So it means we're moving from an era where banking and financial services were moving at a very slow pace, and now it's actually accelerating rapidly. So it means that effectively speed is becoming a critical necessity for everyone to have. And we'll come back to this as to why composable banking is really a key asset in terms of being able to actually drive the speed that's necessary to bring those great customer experiences to market. But if you kind of zoom out from why this era even exists, we see a few forces come into play. And it all starts, of course, with customers. Customers are nowadays used to and are expecting better services. They just interact with it in their day-to-day lives. They're used to having everything available. They're used to having everything personalized, to be mobile. And frankly, they're sick of having financial services which are acting like they're still in the 90s when the rest of their world that they live in has moved on. So the bar has been raised by all the other tech innovation that's been happening in pretty much every single industry. And this is then creating demand from the customer side in terms of better experiences and better, more tailored financial products. And at the same time, of course, the supply side has also completely changed the game. There's fundamentally new and superior technologies available to deliver these services. This, of course, comes from everything in terms of the channels to reach your customers, but also the ability to create things which are personalized, which are uniquely suited to the needs of a particular customer, but still do that in an automated, scalable way, which is something that was never really possible before. So these two forces are coming to play, and that's putting a lot of pressure on traditional banking services, traditional financial services, to respond to it. And as well, at the macro level, there's a couple externalities, if you will, that are also pushing this and accelerating the whole ecosystem even faster. Of course, access to capital nowadays is much more easily available, and it's also looking now at different time horizons, where before you might have had capital coming into the market and looking for what returns they can get in the next quarter. Now you have investors, institutions, and organizations placing bets on 5 years, 10 years, on placing bets for the future, which allows then organized businesses like yourselves to create experiences and think and act for the long term and not just for the short term. Lastly, there's also the regulatory environment. Regulators are encouraging competition. They're encouraging openness, and they're encouraging new entrants to come into the market. This is also then creating change in the market and encouraging new competition and further accelerating the fintech era. So what are the results of this? We're seeing a couple of things start to happen. One, of course, the rise of brand new entrants coming into the market. Now, most people associate this with just the fintech companies, but that's not at all the case. Venture-backed technology companies are, of course, a big part of who is starting to play in the market. But established organizations which have great relationships with their customers, perhaps outside of financial services, are starting to realize that the same drivers that are pushing on banks are a huge opportunity for them to start to provide better financial services products to their customers. At the same time, the established organizations are realizing that now they need to deal with meaningful change. And it's happening at a pace that's faster than ever before. So those organizations are also figuring out, well, how do I respond to this environment? Obviously, I can't completely change everything how I'm doing right now, but at the same time, I can't stay still because it's clear that in the fintech era, institutions who were working how things were 20 years ago will not be successful 30 years from now. So they're figuring out in the same time, how do they navigate that change? At what pace can they themselves evolve in this fintech era? So it's an incredibly exciting time if you're not afraid of change. So what's our role in all of this? How do we see our responsibility to help all of you to be successful in this era? Fundamentally, we see our responsibility as to empower people, yourselves actually, to deliver great modern banking experiences to everyone around the world. And we start with the fact that it's really about figuring out what can we do for you as individuals. Of course, we talk about customers and there's organizations behind each of you. But actually, if I look out here, I see a lot of faces, some of them new, some of them old and familiar, but I don't see any logos. I see some vests with logos, but I don't see any logo-shaped people walking around here. And so our job is to empower each of you as individuals to succeed in what it is that you're actually trying to do. So while we might be working with number 26, the way that we think about it is what can we do to help Georgina to create great financial products, which is probably different than what we need to do to help Garrett to expand from just working in EU to also to be able to serve number 26 in the UK, in Brazil, and all the other markets they want to expand to. Likewise with New 10, we try to focus on the individuals and how can we help them to be successful. How can we help Yap to build a great, rich technology ecosystem that works well with the different technology partners that we have here? And how can we help someone like Stefan to ensure that Mambu is fully compliant, secure, and supports their day-to-day operations? So while it is about the organizations, it's actually a focus on what the individuals are trying to achieve and what are the tools, what are the processes, what are the services that we can provide to empower each of those individuals, each of yourselves to be successful in your roles. And at the end of the day, what we are focusing on is we want to really enable you to create great modern banking experiences. And we really focus on the experience part. Now, even though we, of course, don't interact with your customers directly, we want to make sure that you have all the technology and capability such that you can focus on that experience, so that you can form that great experience through the products that you design and launch to your customers, through the way that you use technology for your customers to interact with them. Everything that we're doing is trying to give you the capabilities to deliver those great experiences to your customers. And of course, great is very different if you're trying to do something in one particular market or you have a different type of financial product. But that definition of great actually comes from you. And it's up to us to understand your needs, your definition of great, and deliver the solutions that you need to be able to do so. And modern is a really key word for us because modern might seem a bit of a loaded word, but it does have one very clear meaning. And the fact is, modern changes. What was modern 5 years ago is not modern right now. And what is modern right now, whatever you're building, is not going to be modern in a few years. So that means that change has to be built into the system if you want your services to be both great and to be modern and to have that lasting relationship with your customers. And in the end, we're all about trying to make sure that we have great impact. One of the things that we're always curious and that we measure is what is the impact that Mambu is having through our customers to the end users. Right now, thanks to you, we've managed to reach 17 million end users with better financial products, with better experiences. And we want this to be ubiquitous. As you can see already, people are coming in from all over the world. We're already active in 50 markets. And we want to make sure that financial services, these great experiences, is not something that's limited to particular individuals, but it's something that's really a necessity and something that should be available to everybody. So our job is really to enable you to have the tools and capabilities and to really get out of your way so that you can easily bring your products to market and have the biggest impact possible in your particular geography, in your particular domain, with your particular financial products. And of course, if Elon actually gets us to space, and if you do want to go there, I promise you that we will do our best to be powering the first bank on Mars with you. We'll just have to probably check with our friends on AWS when they're spinning up the servers there, but I'm sure they'll take care of that. So in short, we see our job really as making banking better. Obviously, we can't do it alone. We have to do it together with you, but we want to make those experiences better. We want to make working in the industry better, actually. We want you to come to your jobs and for your teams to come to the jobs and have the tools and capabilities such that they feel they can have a meaningful impact in their end customers. But as I said, it's not something that we can really do together. We can do alone. It's something that we can only really do together. And this is where the whole mindset of composable banking comes around. So everyone here uses different technology. They work with different partners. And they use different solutions to bring your ideas to market. But we see a common approach as to what everyone here is doing and what actually is the mindset of the industry. And we wanted to create a terminology that captures what each of you are describing, how you want to work. And this mindset we're referring to as composable banking. It might seem like a bit of a technical terminology, but composable is really comes out of something that's creative. You can compose a piece of music by making sure you take the right notes and put them at the right places and play them at the right speed. So those elements of bringing things together, which are much greater than the sum of their parts, is really what we're talking about. In our world, composability is about bringing together different systems in a customer-centric way and finding something that's really best for purpose. It's taking a look at what the customer needs and what are the different pieces of technology that you can put together in a very flexible way to serve the need of your customers. These are different independent systems brought together to bring particular solutions and to especially bring particular great experiences to your customers. It's important that composable banking is a mindset that's not just about systems integrations. It's actually about building processes, cultures built around change. And at the end of the day, it starts actually, like everything, by focusing on the customer. Composable banking starts at taking a look at what do you want the customer journey to look like? What do you want their experience to be with you as a institution? What do you want their relationship to be like? And that's not a static point. It doesn't mean it's an app. It doesn't mean it's a branch. It doesn't mean it's a website. It's thinking about their journey and interaction points with you. And at different points of that interaction, they would use different technology And technology, of course, can refer to mobile, but technology can also mean calling somebody and having actually a conversation if you really need to, if you're trying to figure out what is the best mortgage for you as an individual. So, but not by starting with the technology side, by starting with a customer journey, and then figuring out how do you put in the right pieces of technology to support that journey is what composable banking is all about. So it's finding the right technology solutions for the right time of interaction with your customer and putting them together in a seamless, beautiful way to create great experiences and create great relationships. But it's also the knowledge, as I talked about, the fact that whatever you're putting together will change because the customer experiences will change, the macro dynamics of the environment will change. And so composable banking means you also have to be able to build something that can also evolve in this fintech era. And so we see ourselves and we see our role as a key enabler of being the platform for yourselves for composable banking. So we want to give you the freedom fundamentally and the flexibility and tooling to bring your vision to market. You know your customers best. You know what the market looks like. But you also know that you want to build something that can evolve. And it's our role to make sure we're giving you the capabilities to do so. And of course, it's not something that we do alone. The whole composable banking mindset is about an ecosystem. And of course, you can meet a few of our great partners here today. And during the day, we'll have quite a few conversations getting into the more details about this, talking about what is the technology mindset really about composable banking? What are the methodology, what are the tools? How do you really technically build systems together, and what does Mambu do to support it? But I want to just introduce 3 higher level principles that apply both to the business and the technology part of it, of what composable banking really means. The first principle is that monolith really is the enemy of innovation. Monolith means that you're creating something that's fundamentally designed to be hard to change. It's like trying to conduct an orchestra and just simply having one big drum to work with. You just simply won't be able to create the nuance of sound to create great experiences. So there's a massive opportunity to have lots of smaller pieces that can play well together, and to know that you can always replace individual pieces of your solution. So force applies to the technologies that you use, but it also applies to how you actually build your organization behind it. And it's fundamentally also knowing that actually if you take this approach, if you take something that's built to be built up of smaller pieces, that's built to be designed for change from the very beginning, you're actually also going to take a lot less risk down the road when you have to change, because you're building change into it. One of the big challenges a lot of established institutions and large banks have is that they were not built to change because they were built outside of the fintech era. They were built to build systems that were lasting, and now, of course, they're struggling to realize how do you change. So if you build change in from the very beginning, then actually the evolution of this in the fintech era, whatever it evolves to, will become much easier. And tech companies know and live and die by this principle every day. And there's a huge opportunity for yourselves to bring those tech principles, both organizational and technological, and apply them to financial services. The second principle, as I said, is it's really about focusing on the customer experience. So you want to be looking for different pieces of the puzzle, for different parts of your journey, to figure out at each individual touch point, do you have the freedom to actually design what is the best experience for your customers and design how you want to interact with them? So it means being able to choose the right solutions, the right processes, and design not from your inside-out perspective, but from the customer-in perspective. So in this game of fintech, to be able to deliver great fin, you really fundamentally need to have effectively unlimited choice on the tech side. You need to have that freedom of what you want to pull off from the shelf, what you want to quickly throw away and replace when it's no longer suited for your product, for the market, when there's something better, and what you actually want to build yourselves in-house because that's your unique IP. You need to have that freedom to operate, to stay relevant and stay competitive in the fintech era. And the third principle is a word I've been using a few times, and you'll hear a few more today. It's about being built to change. It's about being able to change rapidly, constantly, boldly. And it's not necessarily just in the technology part of it. It's also about looking at how you can do it within your cultures, within your operations. Everything that you're putting together to bring your service to market, to bring it to your customers, needs to be designed with a mindset of change from the beginning. So it also means you can't really fall in love with what you build because you know that there might be something better. There might be a better way of doing it. You have to always be challenging the way it's done and look for something better pretty much the day after you built it. So in this fintech era, it's really about making sure that you own your own destiny. It means the freedom of choice on tech decisions. It means the freedom of architecture, and fundamentally the freedom of change. So despite what we tell all the wonderful journalists who have joined us today, we really, I don't think, have a clue what banking will look like in 3 years or 5 years, never mind 10 or 20. We didn't know how it was going to change in the past, and we don't know how it's going to change in the future. So of course we can still tell them what we think because it's our job to be visionaries. But at the end of the day, we have to build actually for the fact that the reality is we don't know. So we have to be building for something that has so many variables, that has so many factors of change, that you have to be actually building something in for a future that is fundamentally unknown. And if the future of banking is a moving target, that means that you yourself as a business have to be set up to be able to change with it. So if we are all here, which I think we are, is to really change an industry for the better and to create better experiences for our customers, it means that it's important that we recognize that we have to actually be able to change ourselves. And you have to figure that out how you do it on the technology side, which we'll talk about, and also how you do it on the cultural and operational side, which can be a little bit more challenging. But I think everyone needs to be thinking about how they do that. Figure out change and build it into the organization in every way you can. If it means changing the coffee from normal to decaf and then changing it back again every couple of days just to mess with people's heads, just go do that. Whatever it is to get people familiar with the concept of change and to get it really embedded in them. So this mindset is really about the composable banking way, and I think it's really the key advantage that organizations have to thrive in the fintech era. So how do we see ourselves supporting this way of working? So we ourselves have a few principles we apply to how we run our business, how we think about things, to make sure that we are also very much aligned to this. So the first thing is, you might have seen, is to only do one thing and do best in the world. For us, that means building together a cloud banking platform, but it also means knowing what our borders are. There's an amazing ecosystem of partners that can help put together great solutions in the market, which means everyone can only really thrive if they focus on one or two things which really make them unique, which they can really be best in the world in, and really focus on that and only on that, which means saying no a lot of times to a lot of other stuff. That's something that we do a lot in our company. It also means, from a technical perspective, that best-of-class integration mechanisms are critical to success. People talk about APIs, but nowadays, in our opinion, awesome APIs are just table stakes to be playing in this game. If you don't have APIs, you have about as much right to call yourself a tech company as WeWork does. APIs are critical to how the whole entire ecosystem runs. But we're thinking beyond that. We're thinking what are other mechanisms we can put in place to give you guys the tools and capabilities to integrate out and bring composable banking solution to life. And we ourselves, of course, live by what we say. We challenge what we do daily. We try to improve both our operations, our culture, our product and technology on a daily basis and make sure we get it in your hands. So we try to build change into our own organization, into our own culture every single day. We also try to think of our business and try to align it back to the customer. And it's easy to do that on only one particular silos of a business. But we try to think of it, again, from a customer-centric perspective. And we challenge to see, is everything that we're provided really aligned to value from customers, both in how we do our services, how the technology that we offer, but also how we structure our contracts and commercials. Is it really aligned to make sure that we're in this together as a partnership for the long term? There's been, over the last few years, always questions, and it came up very often for me from journalists about, is cloud secure or not? I can't imagine any technology, any services which provide better capability and security than cloud if you use them correctly. And the pace at which it is improving is simply mind-boggling. So for us, we double down on cloud and leveraging the best capabilities and treat our responsibility as far as security, as far as data privacy. We take that seriously. But we believe cloud has the capabilities to provide that in ways that were really never before possible in the world. And the core philosophy of also having one product is also making sure that we enable you to do things very easily. And easily means that we enable you to not have to be dependent on us. We don't want to be a bottleneck for whatever it is that you want to bring to the market. So we want to make sure everything we do is something that you can easily configure, such that you have the tools and capabilities to bring your products and services to the market. And last but not at all least is it's really our job to kind of shut up and listen. We have to listen to what it is that you're trying to do, to what your customers are expecting from you, and try to listen to what is the really needs that you have and to come up with solutions for that. So we need to do that in so many different ways. We need to do it from our customers, yourselves. We also have to do that from our partners. We have to do that from the industry. Our job really, given where we sit in the ecosystem of composable banking, is to be absorbing that information, listening in it, and then applying that back through the services and technology that we provide. So I talk about the fintech era, but I really believe it's really just getting started. It involves banks, it involves venture-backed startups, it involves technology ecosystem partners, it involves consultants, it involves service providers. All of us are really at the early days of this very exciting era. And I think together, if we embrace this mindset, we actually work together to build solutions which take the best of our individual strength and combine them together in a flexible way that's built for change. Together, we'll be able to have a massive impact. We believe that together over the next decade, we'll be able to build better financial products and build better banking experiences to over 1 billion people around the world. Thanks very much, everyone, and enjoy your day today.